larger than it already is. Second of all, I don't think it should have ever been placed as a SPLOST item. I think it should have been, they should have found another revenue. People fall victim to SPLOST all the time, as we see with the T-SPLOSTs coming up. And I went back and looked at the wording of how the administration, when they worded this on the ballot. Well, another problem I got with SPLOST is it allows for the general public to vote on it. I don't let my neighbor make financial decisions for me in my home, but when you allow your neighbor to vote on SPLOST for you, you're doing that also. It creates a tax burden on businesses and the people in the community, and when your tax rate's going to get 8%, like they're wanting to push it to, we can't be competitive with Cobb County. So they use SPLOST to expand government because they know people, they bribe us with their own money, in essence, and we've got to stop letting them do that. Liberty Mutual Building, a lot of cost to upgrade it, keep it alive. I know it's a 20-year-old building. Most buildings have a 30-year life expectancy, so when we start having problems with it, what are we going to do about the maintenance? We got a good deal on the price, they say. What's the maintenance going to be over the years to come? And how are we going to maximize the use of this facility? Because there's already rumblings that the Hall County Sheriff's Office doesn't want to move into the Liberty Mutual Building admin. They want their own building now. I don't know. That's just rumblings. That's just rumors. I can't verify any of that. So.
I'm not sure what was confusing about this. Relocation of administration functions to a new site to allow the courts to expand into the annex and relocation from the joint administration building. That's pretty clear to me. I support the purchase of the Liberty Mutual building. That saved the taxpayers $6.5 million. You might say how? Well, that project right there that I read was $17 million, voter approved. There's also another $5 million set aside for relocation of the health department. That's $22 million in SPLOST funds that y'all voted on. Now, with $6.1 million for the Liberty Mutual building, which by the way is $50 a square foot, which includes $30 30 acres that it comes with. $50 a square foot includes the price of the land. So that's 6.1. We spent 2.9 renovating it. That's 9. If we spend another 1.5 renovating the where planning and zoning currently is, that's a total of $10.5 million. That saved $6.5 million. It also has room for expansion for 10 years into the future. Also, the 33 acres, that becomes a prime candidate for the other SPLOST project, which is Sheriff's Patrol Division. Relocate Sheriff's Headquarters and Patrol Division, $10 million. We now have the property that is available to do that, if the new sheriff so chooses to put it there.
Discussion?
I would like to. So you're saying that we've got property for them to build another facility. Why would we not move into the existing facility?
What existing facility?
The new Hall County Administration building. I'm lost here.
Because
why would the sheriff's office not move into there?
Because the sheriff's office currently is in 25,000 square feet, and space studies have shown that it needs 40,000 square feet. There's already planned space for consolidation of all the other government functions into that facility to have room for expansion. It also allowed us to get out of 2 leased spaces, one being the voter registration, which used to be the old Walmart, and the other is probation services, which is down on Main Street.
So you're saying we're going to have to build another building on the existing property where Liberty Mutual sits to house them, or by the Regions building downtown, the White Pebble across from the courthouse?
I never said anything about buying the Regions building downtown. I'm saying there's a voter-approved project to build a new Sheriff Patrol Division for $10 million that was voted on in SPLOST 6.
Second question is, at the Hall County Commission chair debate recently that was hosted by the South Hall Republican Club, there was a disagreement between Chairman Oliver and his opponent, Richard Eugene, on the necessity of having a glazed reservoir. Oliver is for it, while Eugene says we don't need it. How do you gentlemen feel about the reservoir project?
I think it's definitely needed at this point. We We've been working on that project since the 90s. We've invested about $11 million in it right now. We're in the home stretches to getting the 404 permit from the Corps of Engineers to build that facility. Yes, the Corps sided with us, and they granted the Corps determined that it does have water withdrawal rights out of Lake Lanier, and up to 703 million gallons per day. Yeah, that's right, 703 MGD. But it's up to the EPD, which is a state agency, to allocate that. So we don't know when they're gonna allocate it, who they're gonna allocate it to, and how much to each withdrawing agent at this time. Right now, the most important thing we can do is to obtain the 404 permit, and then at that point, we'll decide if and when we need to build that reservoir. The permit's good for 10 years. I think the first step, if we do choose to go forward, would be to build the bowl and stop right there. Then we're in control of our own water future.
I'm against the building of the lake reservoir. We've got a ton of money already invested in the permit. We need to finish the permit, we need to get the permit. But the problem we have is we've got 800 acres landlocked up there in the glades. We've got an 800-acre park. The question is, are you willing to spend $300 million? Now, they say the bowl is only $25 million. It's the infrastructure that goes with it to pump that water, and to put all the amenities package in that developers want, the roads, the sidewalks, and all that, to turn this thing into what they want it to be. Are you willing to spend $300 million? That's roughly $6,000 for a family of four. Are you willing to cough that up in your tax dollar? The Corps of Engineers says we've got enough water to 2060. The study's on their website. Why do we need to pay it forward that far? Now, we get this permit, we've got 10 years to do what we need to do. I don't know, I don't have the crystal ball that some of these government officials have to see the future, but it's a question of money. How much are you willing to spend? How much? I don't have it to give, a lot of people don't. But we can. Clear cut the timber and sell it, lease the water rights to maybe one of the bottled water companies, get some of our money back on it if we decide not to go forward with this project.
I like that. But regarding the raw water, which is what the business Hall County would do, be selling the raw water. We would do no processing of that water. We've been in discussions with Forsyth County as well as Gwinnett County to purchase the raw water. Nothing is definite, but they're very interested in talking with us. Also, there's been no talk, and there will be no talk about building roads and sidewalks with that project. That'll be up to the developer.
Well, we have maps, Mr. Powell, that show the road outline around it and the bridges around the lakes and the new road layout. It's right on the website that you can go out and find it. We've got the maps. I got them from Hall County. It shows the new road right away. So there's a road all the way around the lake.
Well, that's a relocation of Wade Farm Road, which still hasn't been determined if we're gonna build that road. It's a map. It's a plan for the future.
Next question, along those same lines. How much does the Glades Reservoir project really do? How much is that really gonna cost out?
You know, I've heard upwards of $300 million to the bowl only being $25 million. I guess it depends on how much money costs you 10 years from now as opposed to how much it costs you tomorrow. That's one of the arguments I've heard for building it now. Money's cheaper today than it is in the future.
I've heard similar price quotes for that, but like I said, 10 years from now, the scope may be different. Nobody knows. The idea is to just plan for the future. I think that's part of our jobs as commissioners, is to plan for the future.
My fourth question is, what are your feelings about the proposed T-SPLOS? Is it a good thing for Hall County if it's passed by the voters on July 31st, or for or against it?
Well, you never want an additional tax. at this point, I'm undecided whether or not I'm supporting it. I will tell you this, 40% of sales tax revenues come from outside of Hall County. Hall County is also a recipient county if it were to pass. Hall County would receive $1.45 for every dollar spent in this county. Now, with 40% of that dollar being spent from outside the county. So, that sounds like a pretty good deal for Hall County. Now, the problems with the bill is that some have said that there may be some constitutional issues with it. Primarily, that being what they call home rule. Right now, the way it is in the 13-county region that we're within, that would be the region where those tax dollars are spent and where they would be earned and where they would be respent. If Hall County and Forsyth County pass it, then it basically passes through the entire region without the others in that region getting a say-so. So that's the real question that people have as far as the constitutionality of it.
I adamantly opposed T-Splosh. I have from day one. Politicians, they get the salivating at the mouth when the state of Georgia says, we're going to send 25% back to your district immediately for you to spend that well. Well, you're not going to get 25% back. You actually get 18 because there's an administrative cost in there that disappeared, which I do not worry goes. But Hall County will receive back 18% collectively of this 25%, the 100% that is collected. I'm totally against it. I mean, why should the citizens of Hall County or Forsyth County have the power to impose a tax on somebody in Raven County or Dawson County? Raven County and Dawson County, they're the big losers in this Georgia mountain region. They're the donor counties. Every other county is a donor county. And you know what? That's just not right. This theft, this highway robbery, in my opinion. I can't sleep at night knowing I'm taxing my neighbor in the next county when they may not want it. I see this as a bailout for the DOT. We've already had a bailout for the banks by the federal government, so now they're trying to do it on the local level. Our job as elected officials is we need to decide a difference. There's a difference between what is wanted and what's a need. And people need to decide what's most important to them. Can't have it all. Roads, people want roads, we need to make an effort to appropriate money for roads.
Any discussion? The question is, in your opinion, gentlemen, what are 3 things or issues that Hall County needs to address or fix to make Hall County a better place to work?
You know, that's a matter of opinion, but I'm gonna tell you in District 2, things people have talked to me about. We've got a block up in extreme northwest Hall, which is in our area, the upper end. They've been promised the fire station before, I do believe. But they got a softball park instead, because we had a developer donate some land. Well, I think we should took that land and build a fire department first. So one of their big concerns is, well, what if little Johnny out here playing baseball gets in the head, hitting the head with the ball, he's gonna lay out here with trauma for a 5-mile ride here and a 5-mile ride back. You know, there is some logic to that, which I agree with him. I believe we need to do something about the overwhelming water rates in Hall County. You know, I woke up 4th of July to a water rate increase in the newspaper. City of Gainesville's holding Hall County residents at bay over this. And, you know, if the city of Gainesville turns a revenue profit on the water, then they give us a rate increase. I mean, Billy's fishing buddies with Kelly Randall, I was hoping he would have more influence with the man instead of giving us a water rate increase. I mean, our lost sales tax collection, local option sales tax collection, that's a biggie with me, always has been. A lot of people don't understand it. That's important to Hall County. It's important that we get that money back to the state of Georgia. It's our tax dollars. We need to get it back. It needs to be given back out to municipalities like Oakwood so they can maintain infrastructure here.
I think the 3 things that are pretty important to Hall County right now are declining tax revenue. You know, it's no secret that property values have dropped, or the digest has dropped 2 years in a row. This year alone, most of the homeowners that I've talked to have said that their property values have dropped 30%. Well, Well, that takes pretty vigilant guardians of that budget to make their tough decisions, to do what's right, to stay within that budget. I've done that for 8 years. I think we have a job to provide infrastructure and a business climate for jobs and growth. Back to roads. Roads are vitally important. Schools, we don't have anything to do with schools. Schools are important to bring those businesses into Hall County. I think continuity in your government is important. It is absolutely no secret that one of the due diligence items that businesses look at is coming through the chamber and saying, tell me about the local government. What's going on there? High turnover is not good for obtaining new businesses to come into Hall County. For whatever reason, this commission job has always experienced high turnover. Look at the city of Gainesville, 40 years, 20 years, 25 years. City of Gainesville's got some things on the ball. They're doing things right. Right now, all the industrial parks are in Hall County, in the city of Gainesville. In the municipalities, Oakwood, the city of Gainesville. Okay, I think that's probably 90% of the industrial parks. And I think we have to continue to protect Lake Lanier and ensure our adequate water supply. I think that's paramount to this job.
Any discussion? At the commission chair debate held by the South Hall Republican Club, Meekum said that the county is in a $90 million hole. Oliver denied that, saying that the county is in good financial shape and that he wished candidates could do a spreadsheet, which was an obvious swipe at Meekum. Who's right, Oliver or Meekum? So,
I'm not sure if you can read a spreadsheet, but Hall County has a AA3 bond rating. We have continued to get a good bill of health from our auditors. We have not once gotten an ill bill of health. Our fund balance is $10 million. That's 11 to 12% of the county budget. That's well within the guidelines. The debt is what people are referring to. I think Mr. Meekum said we had $90 million in debt. Technically, you could say that. 45 of that is what they call OPEB. That's other post-employment benefits. That's if all 1,300 employees retired tomorrow, we would have a $45 million obligation. The only reason we have to report that is because that's a state requirement. So if all 1,300 employees retired tomorrow, then we would have a $45 million obligation. What's the chance of that? The other $45 million is short-term debt, all tied to SPLOST projects, meaning that when the SPLOST revenue comes in, it pays off the debt.
The other post-employment benefits he was talking about, I believe if you look on page 40 of the previous fiscal year's budget, yes, he was correct with the 40 million number, but it has the ceiling potential, I believe, was at 145 million. I believe that was it. It was an extravagant number. But we went and looked and did a little research on it, but it says, there's no law on the book that says Hall County this is not a guaranteed post-employment benefits that we're guaranteed to have to pay out. It's a moral obligation the county has. I agree with Mr. Meekum on some of that stuff. What bothers me most is, and a lot of people in Hall County doesn't know this, is that we guarantee loans for authorities. I believe $750 million is our rating for Hall County. That's the most we can borrow as a county. And I believe that we have signed with Hall County, the hospital authority, for $450 million worth of loans. That may be correct. To get an ORR through is how we get this information. If you don't give them the exact name of the authority, you don't get the exact numbers back. They'll tell you it doesn't exist or it is not there. That's what worries me for Hall County when we start talking about debt and liability. Some people will tell you it's not a debt until they default on the loan and we have to pay it. Well, I'm sorry, when you co-sign with somebody, you're responsible for that. It is there, the potential is there for it. The hospital is very profitable. I don't know why we have to guarantee loans for them.
Hall County did not guarantee the loans. Hall County is taking a secondary position for that, for those bonds to construct the new hospital and to construct the new wing in the main campus up there. What it did is save, by taking a secondary position, it saved the hospital authority $20 million in interest carrying costs. So, one thing that the hospital doesn't do a very good job of publicizing on purpose is the amount of indigent care of which the county could ultimately be liable for. The hospital has never billed the county for that indigent care. So I believe we had a 5-0 vote to take a secondary position to save the hospital that interest carrying cost.
Well, what's that amount of indigent care that they give us?
It's about $14 million a year.
14 million a year? Don't pay hospital bill.
Next question is, what are your feelings on the 2013 fiscal budget that just passed? Is Commissioner
Speak
Lutz?
up, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. What are your feelings on the 2013 fiscal budget that just passed? Is Commissioner Lutz correct when he said that the county was being overly optimistic when it comes to incoming revenues? If over time Lutz is proven correct, how will the county deal with that?
Commissioner Lutz, he is very correct on that. Once again, I'd like to have this crystal ball that they seem to have. It's a very optimistic budget. If we have another downturn in the economy, this whole furlough situation, it will not result in furlough. It's going to end up in people losing jobs, county employees. I was in total disagreement with that, for the budget. It's a time bomb waiting to explode. Very, very optimistic.
Who knows if Commissioner Lutz is correct? Other than Commissioner Lutz. I'm very proud of the budget that we just adopted. It is, I believe the number is 2.2 higher than the adjusted budget for the previous year, than the amended budget. That was based on, I'm sorry, the additional revenue was based on an increase in ambulance fees, increase in planning and zoning fees, landfill fees, I said the ambulance fees, and primarily due to increased actual lost revenues, which is the other major funding mechanism for the county. So based on what we have actually received, they felt very confident in proposing this budget of 2.1, 2.2 higher than the previous fiscal year amended budget, and no tax increase.
How do you, next year, what do we do when we don't have all of this stuff that we've been given as a gift this year?
I'll answer that. One of the recommendations that I had for this last budget adoption after Commissioner Lutz made his statement was that we do quarterly updates to the Board of Commissioners looking at actual revenues and actual expenditures. We've done this in the past. We'll continue to do it again. We make those decisions in the middle of the budget year. We don't wait on disaster to happen. We do it ahead of time. We're very proactive with our budget. We're very in tune with the income and the outgo with the budget. The quarterly updates are public updates, but we get reports every month that let us know where we are. We'll adjust and apply.
Next question. Is there enough transparency in Hall County government? If not, how can we improve that?
It is very important to be transparent. People want to know, what are you doing with our money? I agree. We have tried to do a good job of providing public input at the work sessions and at the board meetings. Our work sessions and our board meetings are all public meetings. Anybody can come, anybody can sign up to speak. We also record them. They're televised on our board meetings. Anybody can obtain a copy of that, but they're actually on our website. You can actually review the board meetings from the website. There are links to those on there. Commissioner Bell made a motion to discuss changing the time of the work session so that more people could attend. We just talked about that on Monday's work session, and staff is going to come back to us with some recommendations. But, you know, we're an open book. Anything we do is public record.
I don't feel transparency is where the problem lies in. As he said, you know, we have meetings that people are more than welcome to attend. But we do have to make those meeting times at 3 o'clock in the afternoon more accessible. I can't have that, you know, that's just, have a meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, you're discouraging people. I believe most everybody in this room would have a hard time getting there. The real problem isn't transparency, it's accountability. And one of the things I've done with my campaign is I've already set up an accountability team, not only at my church, but I pulled people from every one of my precincts to be on accountability team. Because when people don't have accountability, they tend to sway from what their job is and what they need to be doing. So that's one thing I feel strongly about. It's more of an accountability issue than a transparency issue in the government.
Any discussion? My next question is, the surrounding counties of Gwinnett, Jackson, and Forsyth County in particular are making great strides in attracting businesses to their respective counties. What is Hall County doing in that regard? Are we keeping up with our neighbors, or do we have work to do?
I believe we have work to do. The city of Oakwood, though, has done a great job. They've got the Oakwood Industrial Park where I believe it's pretty much maxed out. One of my friends owns a business in there. He does about $30 million a year. He employs about 40 people now over there. And he moved to Oakwood for a specific reason. And I asked him, he says, it's easier to do business in Oakwood. But his big concern is the water rates in Hall County. And that's a killer, especially when you look at, on average, if we use 100 gallons a day per person in Hall County. You take a business, you might as well multiply that times the millions. A lot of the poultry industry has left Hall County, and it's because of those extremely high water rates. That is a big ticket item. A lot of people don't realize that. We can get sewer anywhere in the county too. The problem is we got to get them cheap water to bring them here to do business. Businesses relocate to where it's more profitable for them to be. Hall County, we ran sewer down Winder Highway, but that doesn't seem to be much of an industrial part down there to me. And I don't understand why, if we want sewer for business, we need to run it up 985 a little bit, not be going down Winder Highway. I'm kind of still mixed about why we've done that.
Businesses look at many things. I mentioned some of them earlier. Infrastructure is vitally important. I attend the Economic Development Council meetings, 7:30 in the morning once a month. But in working with the Chamber Economic Development Vice President, businesses want to look and see what infrastructure. Give me a site that has sewer, that has good access, that's affordable. That's what they look at. They may not need sewer, but they want sewer. We are currently working on a public-private venture, and I can't give a lot of details, where Hall County will help supplement by providing the infrastructure. This is a very large tract of land, and we have one state business and another private venture looking at relocating to that property right now. This would be a true public-private partnership where they are providing the development infrastructure. We provide the sewer, the utility infrastructure. But it's a great public-private partnership. The other thing that the city of Oakwood has done And we have in turn been in discussion with Patillo Construction Company. Patillo is a major industrial developer that will build a spec building. They go out and build a 3-sided spec building in an industrial park and sit on it. And they wait. That now goes into the state's inventory as well as Hall County's inventory. So all these businesses are looking for where they could go to quickly. Well, that's one of the reasons Patillo has partnered with Oakwood down in Oakwood Industrial Park. They've done a great job of always having one available. They're currently constructing one in the city of Gainesville's industrial park out by the Chicopee Ag Center. These are the types of things we need to do, be proactive in order to attract business. Hall County has never had an industrial park. We looked at the Crystal Farms property down in South Hall. Great access, great proximity to the interstate. We did our due diligence and it turned out to be contaminated property. We couldn't afford the liability to do that. We had to abandon that. But now we have new light, and this one actually is up 365. So we're looking at running sewer up 365 now.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I believe that's a poultry lab, I believe they're putting up there, Mr. Powell. You can see who's behind that LLC, I believe it's owned by W365 LLC, I believe is who owns that land, so we're researching to find out who's behind that public-private partnership. I don't know why it can't be a totally private partnership. We can put the sewer in for him, but
Well, there you go, that's why.
that will be interesting to see how that goes. He's really involved in it.
I might have covered this already, but I'll ask anyway. What are the 2 pressing issues in District 2 that need to be addressed?
2 pressing issues right now are 2 fire stations that were SPLOST 5 projects. That being one issue, not 2. Also, I'll address what Mr. Moon said about putting the fire station on the Cool Springs property that was donated. That does not fit within the model to give all homes 5-mile coverage from every fire station. It's too far toward the county line. We looked at that. If you do that, those that are not covered within 5 miles would be, you just moving the scale to the other end. It then creates another gap. The fire department has a map that you can get, and it says, here's the ideal location for every fire station that we need. 2 weeks ago, the commission authorized purchasing to solicit bids for those 2 fire stations. The reason they haven't been built is because we've made those tough decisions, we couldn't afford to operate them. So we have most of the money, all the money is collected from SPLOST 5. We're not sure at this point if it will cover the construction of all those stations plus the equipment, but with the sale of the old jail, perhaps we can supplement that budget to get those constructed. But we are committed to building those 2 fire stations. One is in the heart of District 2 in Northwest Hall. I got one more. You said 2 pressing issues. The other thing I'm pretty passionate about is ensuring the integrity of our neighborhoods. We recently had a dollar store out on Dawsonville Highway that was at the entrance to a subdivision. Now, Mr. Moon has dinged me in his literature about not voting for retail expansion. Well, it is a fine balance between bringing industry in, and that certainly is not industry, and protecting the integrity of our neighborhoods. But you want a dollar store to the entrance of your neighborhood subdivision. It's not off the main highway. It is actually on the subdivision entrance road was where the access was. There's one way in, one way out for all those 159 homes to come in and out. And you're gonna be heading out, going to take your kids to school, and there's gonna be an 18-wheeler backing in to block the subdivision street. Safety was also an issue. If that ambulance is trying to get out of there, and that 18-wheeler is blocking that road, then this was a balance that I thought needed to be swayed toward the property owners, and I voted against it. I believe it was either a 4-1 or a 5-0 vote against it as well.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
One of the pressing issues, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I have had residents complain to me about fire services in the area. And while they got this park, which we call the oasis in the desert, if you've ever been out there, it is. Everything around this desert is lush and green. Second thing is the roads in West Hall County. When I say roads, there's more than roads, just physical asphalt. The shoulders need to rebuild on these roads. It's not being done. Striping needs to be redone. We've got potholes. We rode around today and was looking at the roads, some where now the shoulders are gone, it's eroding away over the road. We've got culvert situations, need to be fixed, roads flood. Those are the small things that make a community great. When you know that you can drive down a highway and it's not flooded. It's those small things that we need to be taken care of in District 2 that we're not. We need economic growth in District 2. We need to fill these 3,000 plus foreclosed homes in Hall County up with people. But I'm sorry, but working at Old Navy and working at Cheddar's and Olive Garden doesn't pay a mortgage. It does not. And we'll all agree with that. We love those stores, but they don't put people in homes. We need to get economic growth into Hall County. This Dollar General Mr. Powell is speaking about, I'm going to tell you what happens here. The same woman that led this charge against that Dollar General also headed off a Kmart below South Atlanta when she lived down there. What was even more so than that is we let another group of anti-growth people from a different part of the county come to this meeting at the commission and present themselves as residents in the audience. And they weren't. I knew they weren't. I mean, I've talked to, and I just can't understand for the life of me why people are more concerned about a store on the corner than they are the 3 child sex offenders living in that neighborhood. I live in that. I have to go through that intersection all day long going home. That road is safer now than it's ever been, and there was no reason for them to deny that Dollar General there, except for outside influence.
I don't know how you know who's in attendance and how you can look out there and say he's from Hall County and they're not. But I met with the homeowners at Lake Hill Church way prior, many weeks prior to the meeting. So I met those neighbors and I engaged with them after hours and heard their concerns.
My next question is, gentlemen, it's easy to criticize what Hall County government has not done right. Tell us what Hall County government has gotten right this past fiscal year.
I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it again. We've got no tax increase in 8 years. No tax increase, no roll-up in 8 years. We've made those tough decisions to protect the property owners, keep your taxes as low as we can keep them. Your county is in good financial condition. I mentioned the general fund budget. I mentioned the reserve account that we have, and the AAA, the AA3 bond rating that we have. We just, like I said, we consummated the deal with the old jail with the city of Gainesville. That brought in $14 million from an old 40-year-old asset in Midtown Gainesville that we wouldn't have otherwise had. I think that's doing something pretty right. We have now consolidated the county government into the new Hall County Government Center. I disagree with Mr. Moon saying that is in bad need of repair. You ask anybody that's been through that, that is probably the most well-maintained facility in this entire county. I went down into the basement and looked at the boiler room, and there was not a drop of oil or grease on the floor. It is one of the best maintained facilities that I've ever been into, especially for that size. I was at a meeting Tuesday down there and went down and did my early voting and got in discussion about, what do you think? I got nothing but rave reviews from everybody that went there, saying that this was a great, convenient site, now more centrally located in the county, geographically, than in downtown Gainesville. There are plenty of residents, half the population lives below Monday Mill Road. This is a much more convenient facility.
What is Hall County government gotten right? Some people can't give you a good answer to that one, but I'm gonna tell you what we've gotten right, and he's here tonight, and I gotta apologize to him, but our new chief tax appraiser back there, Steve, he's done a great job. That's one thing Hall County's done right. You know, I had my doubts with him, and I was his worst enemy. And I told him I was gonna write him, but he has done a great job in getting the appraisals and getting them uniforms, Steve, and I wanna tell you that, in front of all these people, I think you're doing a dynamite job in getting that uniformity back in Hall County. That's one good thing that Hall County's done when they got in here. We're a lot safer in Hall County now. Statistics show crime's down in Hall County. Public, or Sheriff's Department. John, you'll appreciate that. We're safer based on the, and we're getting that number based on the number of fines coming in. Either all the criminals are left, or they ain't got money for gas. Like I said, it's the small things like that. Buying new business, building, growing government. I don't see how it makes Hall County bigger. I mean, I can't get excited about going in a building whose only purpose is to take my money. But it dawned on us Sunday night when we were out putting out signs, we went down there. Why Hall County wanted that building so bad? Because now we have a bridge like the city has.
Any discussion? With the approval of the 2013 fiscal budget, furlough days for Hall County employees were reduced from 12 to 3, and Hall County started to contribute to employees' retirement benefits again. Now, there's some critics out there that say that this was done because it's an election year. The 3 members of the commission up for the election, Bell, Alder, and you, Mr. Powell. Do you gentlemen feel that this is a valid criticism? What are your thoughts on this?
I believe it was prematurely done. You know, I worked in the private sector after 25 years. We went through 5 layoffs. I wish we would have had the option for employees there, to offer them a furlough. Oh, you know, you take 8 years off, a year or 12, you still have a job. But we don't have that option in the private sector. We have to make decisions that keep people gainfully employed. And promising somebody that they're not going to have a furlough, that's cruel, because you know what? If things don't work out the way they anticipate them to, it's going to be a loss of job this time. It's just going to be even worse. And I'm afraid I'm going to inherit that problem when I'm elected.
Hall County was one of the first counties in the entire state to implement furloughs. We were a resource for other counties saying, how did you do this? The problem with those other counties is they waited too late. It was a cumulative effect to ease into that. We did it for 5 years. Now it's a very venture to say we were probably one of the first 5 counties in the state that implemented furloughs. We have good folks that work for Hall County. Mr. Watson is one of them. We have 1,300 others. I've known Steve since he and I went to grammar school together. We will continue to have good employees. They sacrificed for 5 years, which a furlough day a month amounts to about a 5% income loss. For the past 3 years, we've had no retirement benefits. Think of yourself, you had a 5% pay cut. Most of you'd be happy that you have a job. We lost very, very few people by implementing those. They also gave up their retirement. Now it's time to give back to them. We made those tough decisions then, we make the decisions now. That budget was presented to us by staff. It was not premature. 5 years, I don't think is premature. As I said earlier, we'll continue to have quarterly updates on the income and expenses and make adjustments where necessary. Mr. Moon mentioned layoffs. We're not afraid of layoffs. We had 80-something layoffs last year. We're not afraid to do layoffs. We make those tough decisions.
Yes. I just said it's always boggled my mind why the government feels it has to be immune from the recession. I've always been in awe of that. I mean, I'm going to tell you, in my world, we sacrifice. My insurance deductible is $10,000. And you know what we're told? You should be lucky you got a job. Well, you know what? And you know what? That's right. We're lucky we got a job. But the other 179,000 people in Hall County shouldn't have to make that sacrifice all along. As I said, you know what? Right now is the time we need to right-size Hall County government. But I want to tell you, my job as commissioner is to protect the citizens of Hall County. I don't believe the sheriff's department or the fire department should ever have been furloughed, any of those guys. I never did. It's amazing. It is amazing that we want to keep the people, though, that collect all the money. I mean, we got to make some cuts. Technology is there to assist in collecting these revenues, which we call profit. The private sector, they call it revenue. But there's too much technology out there. We need to streamline Hall County government. Now is the time to right-size that government to see how little government we can work with. You mentioned earlier that they balanced the budget in Hall County. We need to be working and cutting that budget in Hall County.
Next question is, and the next two questions are kind of pet peeves of mine, so bear with me, okay? Due to budget constraints the last couple of years, it's put a strain on virtually every aspect of Hall County government. A visual example of this is that for many areas around the county, you know, it is very unkept. For example, until very recently, part of Thurman Tanner Parkway has grass and bushes growing out of control. Do you think this is an issue? And if so, what would be your plan to improve the cleanliness and upkeep of our roadways here in District 2?
It's cut
Sorry,
now.
watch that question.
It's cut now.
Right. Yeah, it's part of it's cut, but not all of it. It's still ugly.
Yes, I think Oakwood and Flower Branch need to do a better job of maintaining.
That wasn't Oakwood.
We have a program to where our correctional institute provides prisoners to clean roads. We have guards that take work crews out. I'm sure you've seen them. We can maintain. You're talking about litter and grass, etc. And that's what I mean by maintaining the shoulders. But those work crews go out into county-maintained roads. So if it is a municipality or if it's a state road, then those prisoners don't do that. However, we do have a program whereby Oakwood, for example, can have a person that is trained to be a guard that can then, they pay that salary of that guard, and they can take a crew of prisoners out into these areas and do that. I invite any of you, if your neighborhood, if your county-maintained road is in need of cleanup, shoot me an email, and we'll put it on the list. Our warden does a great job of getting those work crews out to get those areas cleaned up as he can. But you can imagine the size of this county, 30 miles long, 30 miles tall, 20 miles wide, how many roads there are to maintain in there. But that's proven to be a very economical resource for us to use prison labor to clean up the roads. And once again, I encourage you, if you have an area that needs attention, shoot me an email and we'll get it on the list.
The reason that Thurman Tanner is all grown up is because I believe I get this, there's so many acronyms, the EPD would not grant them permission to cut the grass because they were worried about soil erosion. We had talked to them about this, and this was the real story behind it. The the state had sowed that, and they were afraid there was an erosion problem, they wouldn't